Joining me now in the KOM News Zoom room is the one and only Melanie Brennan. She, of course, is the Director of the Department of Youth Affairs. Melanie, Hafa and Happy New Year to you and your staff over there at DYA.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well.
All right. The agency is so very critical in our islands, our way of life, our culture, new year, new mission, but unfortunately also the challenges that you faced as an agency, those have carried over as well and everything. So what are you doing as a team and as a department to address some of those things that linger?
Okay, so, the emergency declaration has been uplifted. And so, of course, that gives us an opportunity to bring in more programming, more activities for our youth residents. And we have already been in communication and leveraging our nonprofit support, from West Care, from Manetlu, from even, Bake Their Day. We're bringing people in so that our youth residents can experience, what the kids in their communities are experiencing. As you know, like even with the newly resurrected Summer Youth Employment Program, the governor had authorized us to hire our residents, right, within the Department of Corrections. So we all gave them jobs. They all had something to do during the summer. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to give our youth residents purposeful activity that they probably would not get, if they were outside. So we hook them up with jobs. We hook them up with any of the not-for-profit, even government agency services, so that when they leave here, they somehow have benefited from being here. And I guess that's what we want to do differently. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that kids who come here, first off, that it's rare, that, not anyone should come here just because they were picked up. If there's alternative placement in the community, that's, DYA should be a last resort. And so, yes, we want to make sure that, that it's rare, but we also want to make sure it's fair. And so we want to look at, ethnic disparities and why that is so we want to address that as well. We want to encourage our staff to get to develop professionally, and one of the blessings of COVID was that it really opened up virtual opportunities. We're on webinars. We are now all trained in adolescent development, adolescent behavior, so that professionals who are working with kids actually have training, back to training. So it's not just, oh, I'm a corrections officer. I'm a corrections officer, but I have experience and I've taken training on how to deal with adolescents. So really, 2023 is opening.
Almost like the psychology of your clients as well, right? Not just like, okay, you have to be in this room at a certain time, or, you follow a very rigid schedule, but also, behaviorally, why are they doing what you do, and how you can, how you can address them and, and affect them in a more positive way, much quicker, I would assume.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's not about like, oh, what did you do? It's how did you get here? How did you get to this point? And how can we help you? And so what we've noticed about our kids, if you look at our population now, and I guess that's the good thing about having a case management system, we can look at our kids as individuals, but collectively. And we can look at ethnic disparities, but we can also look at kids that are dually involved, meaning they're part of the child welfare system. There's some abuse and neglect in their history, as well as the juvenile justice system. So we call that dually involved. And over half our population currently is dually involved. And so that's a statistic that is something we want to look at. We want to understand better. And we want the community to understand that these youth don't just commit crimes. There's a whole story behind each individual. And so how we really stand to help them and to make them thrive in the community, because they're juveniles, they're going to be released anyway. How we help them is we look at the root causes of why they intersected with the juvenile justice system in the first place. And so if they have no stable home environment, our social workers work with them to find placement. And DYA should not be alternative placement for kids in the child welfare system, but sometimes they end up. That's what happens. And so we really want to work at those root causes. So again, 2023 gives us an opportunity to really, really look at, how we as practitioners in juvenile justice can develop ourselves, but how we can better help the youth that we come across.
I'm sure that case management system, Mel, is sorely needed and very much welcome at your agency, because I mean it's not just the cases that you deal with they are, as you said, they are human beings, and these are young people in our community, but it's not transactional where you just like, okay, well, your client number 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's definitely,
you're not just a folder in the back. Yeah, you're managing a relationship.
Yeah, it's about
we said that at the same
relationships.
time.
Yeah, it's about those relationships and developing those relationships. And also, when you're working with the youth, you really have to think about who they're going home to, whether it's parents or caregivers, because their success is intertwined, right? Is connected to the success of their parents or caregivers. So we're not only helping the youth, we want to help the family, we want to engage the family, and we want to make sure that, that we have successful outcomes. I mean, it so often, actually too often, you hear about youth who graduate from this system into the adult system. It's like we knew where they were going, but we didn't divert them. And so it's about diversions, it's about deflections, it's about helping them when they leave here.
And that's also interesting, like, the term graduate, I would normally think that it meant that you came through this program without, the recidivism like aspect, or without moving to the adult correctional facility. So what are you seeing as far as like driving that number down so that you can say, a young person made it through the DYA system and the framework and the pipeline, if you will, and then, became,
Right. So juvenile justice reform efforts really were spearheaded by the judiciary of Guam. And so what that meant was really assessing kids from the point of entry, from the point of their arrest, or I guess in juvenile terms, taken into custody.
Mm-hmm.
And so really assessing whether they not needed to be part of the juvenile justice system or not. And so what happened was it drove the numbers at DYA down. So in 2015, we went from a population of 80 to 100 to basically what our population is today. It's usually lower than 20 kids, but that doesn't mean that the juvenile justice system it didn't mean that the numbers went down just at DYA. The numbers went down at probation as well. And how we help, how we interact with families made the difference. And so that's how we were able to sustain the numbers here at DYA. And so what happens is it gives us more resources, focused resources for the kids that need it most, right? So we have a smaller population, but we also have more time and attention to focus on the higher risk kids that end up here. Right. And so how we drive those numbers down is we use evidence-based programming. We make sure that the assessments that are in place address the needs that are identified in those assessments. So for example, if someone comes in and they're assessed to have, like disruptive behavior, how do we address the disruptive behavior? We do a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy work with them. And so we just want to make sure that, we have those resources available. And of course, we have more resources because the numbers are lower. And
like you said, root cause analysis is okay. Why is this person, acting out in this particular way? And, to whom is their, behavior
it's
directed?
difficult. It is difficult because what we're finding is that there's a lot of intergenerational trauma. So if parents, also were part of a cycle of abuse, and then, our kids were seeing that they were abused, it's about working not only with the kid, but working with the parents or the caregivers.
Okay, Mel, before I let you go, I want to also give you the ability to, shine the light on a lot of the positive things. And, DYA is doing so many positive things and everything, but in dealing with cases, we want to hear about the success stories.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's too often, right? We're only talking about the correctional side, but a lot of the large, the good work happens in our youth resource centers, right? We have 3 youth resource centers. We offer mentoring. We offer after school care. We have intercession camps during the holiday breaks and summer camps during the summer. And so these camps, these resource centers exist to provide positive youth development opportunities for all our kids, right? And that's like one of the critical areas and components that we have to prevent delinquency is to provide kids with opportunities, all kids with opportunities, so that everybody's at a level playing field. So we just closed one of our Christmas camps just recently. And so now we're going to open up to just the regular after school resource center activities.
Okay. So I would love to do like a live stream or, talk to you about that. We'll get you back on, to talk about that. That's a fantastic program.
That would be perfect. And actually have it down at one of the centers and maybe talk to the kids that are involved.
Oh, yes, please. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So
rather than my face. Yeah. Rather than my face, talk to the kids, talk to the parents.
Right on. Well, it is part of who we are as Guamanians. We're taught to, honor those who came before us, but also to make sure that we care for and teach the next generation and the youth. So Melanie, Brennan at the Department of Youth Affairs, you folks, fine folks over there, are truly doing the Lord's work. And we always congratulate you on your successes. And we wish you the best going into 2023.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.